Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shrikantji. It's a very, treasurable opportunity for me to interact with you all. Firstly, it feels joyous to know the way, know about the way you've been upholding culture so far from the country. It's a beautiful Kolu. So thank you everyone whoever's attending. Very happy Navratri to you all. I pray to Goddess Lalita Parameshwari to grant us all happiness, health and longevity. The session for today, I have narrowed down upon a very important episode from our Puranas, particularly the Brahmanda Purana. So I think the thing, it's in Telugu, so you may not understand. So Brahmanda Purana has two very important episodes, which are popular among people, at least people from South India, and quite a lot of people from North India too. We have the Parashurama Avatara in detail, in a level of detail that even Bhagavatam and Vishnu Puran do not mention. We have in that detail the story of Parashurama. And the second very important story that comes in Brahmanda Purana is Lalitopakhyana, or the episode of Lalita Parameshwari. Now, who is Lalita Parameshwari? Like the way Durga was invoked to kill Mahishasura, right? When everything went beyond the control of all the divinities, all the deities who existed then, and Durga was invoked by combining the Shaktis of all the gods and goddesses, right? It is something similar, the genesis of goddess Lalita Parameshwari is something very similar to it. We have the knowledge of this goddess thanks to two divine gurus in our parampara, that is Dakshinamurti, Lord Shiva himself, who came in the form of Guru, and Hayagriva, it is Lord Vishnu, who came in the form of Guru. So let's start by invoking both of them, because of them we have the knowledge of this unique goddess from our pantheon. So Shrikantji, is it possible for me to look at the Kolu? I'm seeing myself right now. Om Namah Pranavakara Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalasphatiकाकृतिम् Adharam Sarvavidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmahe. With our salutations to both the divine gurus, we begin this story of Lalita Parameshwari. So the story of Lalita Parameshwari was narrated by Hayagriva, that is the guru aspect of Lord Vishnu himself, to Agastya, who is the husband of Lopamudra. So that's a very important in this in today's context, because Lopamudra has founded a sampradaya among the Sri Vidya. So here, very uniquely, Agastya gets called as Lopamudra Pati, because you are the husband of Lopamudra. You have the adhikara to obtain this aspect of Sri Vidya, where we learn about Lalita Parameshwari. Now, just, I'll be quick till the, very important milestone of this story. So we all know the story of the wedding of Parvati and Lord Shiva. So goddess Parvati, she does tapasya to please Lord Shiva, and there are universal forces assisting her because they want this divine union to happen, so that Lord Subramanya, Lord Kartikeya is born and he could kill Tarakasura. So in their assistance, a very important player in this drama is Lord Kamadeva. Kamadeva, he plans to entice Lord Shiva to turn the attention of Lord Shiva towards goddess Parvati by using his Pushpa Banas. So Cupid, basically, the arrows of love. He shoots those arrows at Lord Shiva. Now Lord Shiva opens his eyes, all three eyes. So two of his eyes rest on Parvati, and the third eye rests on Kamadeva, and he's burnt to ashes because third eye of Lord Shiva has fire. And from those ashes was born Bhandasura. Already the universe is reeling under Tarakasura, and this guy got added to the troubles that everyone was facing already. And Bhandasura was endowed with so many boons that it practically became impossible for all the deities, all the devas, all the devatas, all the devis to combined. They could not stop Bhandasura. Of course, I am not going in too much of detail into his tapasya and the boons that he's got. Because there's a very important part of the story which I want to detail upon. So it becomes impossible for all the divine elements to overcome Bhandasura. So as a last resort, they approach Lord Shiva, saying, you burnt Kamdev, and which is why this guy was born, and it seems like even the universe will not sustain till even you get married to Parvati and give birth to Subramanya or Kartikeya. So do something. That's when Shiva organizes a yajna, and we pour ahuti into the yajna, right? We pour the fuel, the divine, the auspicious fuel into the yajna. So the fuel into this yajna, the ahuti, the samidha, or what they call, were the devatas themselves. They, the state was their state was so bad that they just offered themselves into the yajna, where Shiva acted as the adhwari. So from that combined oblations of all the gods and goddesses was born goddess Lalita Parameshwari. The iconography is, she holds she has 4 hands. She holds a pasha, ankusha, a pushpa banas, like Kamadeva did. And she's seated upon Lord Kameshwara. Right? So we call in Lalita Sahasranama, there's 1,000 names of Lalita, the stotra that people in South India chant very regularly. I guess people in North also would be doing the same. So there is a beautiful description called Shiva Kameshwarankastha, Shiva Swadhina Vallabha. So she is seated upon the lap of Shiva Kameshwara, and she is Shiva himself in a female form, or she is Shiva himself, and she is also somebody who delights Lord Shiva. So so Lalita Parameshwari, as soon as she was born, the devatas offered their worship, and she got married to an aspect of Lord Shiva called Kameshwara. The aspect of Lord Shiva who blessed Kamadeva so that he could be reborn again, which is why he is called Kameshwara. So after then they got married, and after that Lalita Parameshwari, she is told that she is the purpose of her birth was to slay this Bhandasura. Now there's an interesting aspect to Bhandasura. Bhanda is one of the meanings of that word is inertia. Right? There is a lot of that resistance to anything that is good, or because the whole universe runs on movement. So this is a kind of inertia that is opposite to the universal element, the life element, the vitality element. That is Bhandasura. He basically puts a stop to anything moving. So, call it laziness, anger, or whatever, or those, qualities which stop your progress, right? That is Bhandasura. And Lalita Parameshwari is the vitality of the universe herself, which is why she is the best positioned to kill Bhandasura. And a couple of very important people under Bhandasura are his commander. One is his commander Vishanga, and his minister Vishukra, and his sons. Right? There are names, but too many to remember. So. And in Lalita Parameshwari, she raises an army of female warriors, Shakti Senas. They are called Shakti Senas. So Bhandasura Vadhodyukta Shakti Sena Samanvita is one of the names in the Lalita Sahasranama. So we'll quickly go over the important generals under Lalita Parameshwari. So there is Mantrini or Shyamala. Her appearance is very similar to Saraswati. She holds a veena and she gives strategic counsel to Lalita Parameshwari. She's like the minister, which is why she's called Mantrini. And there is Dandini or Varahi. Dandini is a commander of Lalita Parameshwari's Shakti Senas. And her appearance is like the female form of Varahaswami. So she's called Varahi. Then there is Sampatkari. Sampatkari is there are some so there are certain imaginations about her as elephant-faced goddess, or as a normal goddess riding an elephant, which is a popular imagination, popular manifestation of her form. So Sampatkari, basically, she populates the army. So she is the one who creates these the Chaturanga Balas, they call the horses, the elephants, the rathas. Basically, she is the one who populates the army. And there is Jwala Malini, who is the architect. So she creates special rathas, right? So one of the names which comes again in Lalita Sahasranama is Jwala Malini Kakshita Vanhi Prakara Madhyaka. So there is a whole formation in which these Shakti Senas are progressing. And Jwala Malini constructs a Vanhi Prakara, or a fire, a core of that army is protected by a fire fury circle, in the middle of which Lalita Parameshwari is seated. And in the lap of Lalita Parameshwari is her 9-year-old daughter, Bala Tripura Sundari. Right? A 9-year-old goddess, very beautiful goddess. For the people who are initiated into Sri Vidya, the first mantra they are given is Bala mantra. So she is a very beautiful, very endearing 9-year-old goddess. And they advance towards Bhandasura's forces. And there is an initial clash where the Shakti Senas dominate. Then Bhandasura's sons come forward, and when all of those sons come forward, this 9-year-old Bala, she volunteers to fight them all. And the other generals, they are a bit concerned that she is just a 9-year-old girl. We should be assisting her. So Mantrini, Dandini, Sampatkari, they go with her, but to their surprise, she doesn't need any of their assistance. So that 9-year-old girl, she kills all the sons of Bhandasura. And after these initial setbacks, right, Bhandasura goes into a re-strategization mode, and he calls his minister Vishukra. Vishukra thinks and he hits upon a strategy, and this is one important aspect which I want to highlight today. We'll spend some time mulling over this. So he observes the strengths of this, Shakti Senas. They are all mostly female. There are certain male aspects, the Bhairavas and all who are assisting these Shakti Senas, but importantly, it's an all-female army. And he sees that they are all born with one purpose, to assist Lalita Parameshwari. So they are all acting as, a unified force. Now, how to break that unity? So he becomes invisible. He infiltrates into the Shakti Senas and installs a mechanism. Let's call it for a simple term, yantra called Jaya Vighna Yantra. What is this Jaya Vighna Yantra? From the name, we understand that it is a yantra which is made to cause an obstacle to Jaya or victory. So what is this mechanism ruled by? 8 forces. 8 forces that stand as obstacles to Jaya. And we shall learn how these 8 forces, even are prevalent even today. Let it be a personal, let it be a social, let it be a civilizational journey. These are the 8 forces that we need to be aware of. One is alasa, which causes alasya, that is lethargy. Right? So the Shakti Senas feel, okay, we've, it's a good progress that we've done. All the sons of Bhandasura are killed and important commanders of his are killed. Probably we can take a break. Taking a break before the enemy is killed, that is one of the strategic mistakes that could happen. The second is Kripana. Kripana is something, that selfish, the root cause is, the root meaning is something that arises from self. That kind of self which separates itself from the larger entity, the larger world, which causes this kind of mean-mindedness called Karpanya. Karpanya is one of the doshas which causes, the obstacles in spiritual progress, any kind of progress. So where some of the Shakti Senas who were affected by Kripana, they started thinking, if we are fighting, and finally the credit goes to this goddess, Lalita Parameshwari. And who is she and why are we even fighting under her? Right? We are taking the blows, we are taking the first attack from those monsters, and why are we even fighting? Let's just stop and see what happens. So there is, and slowly this unity and this synchrony amongst the Shaktis. These are the feminine aspect. It's basically, they are the vital forces of the universe. And once they stop being in synchrony with each other, there is chaos in this universe itself. And there is Dina. And there are some Shakti Senas who lost confidence amongst themselves and said, how long will this battle go on? I don't know whether we'll be able to win over this Bhandasura. I hear that, all the deities failed, all the devtas failed, and then they called us, and what's the chances that we are going to win against him? And this Nitandra. Nitandra is again another form of, laziness. Basically, as to why should we, let's just chill, there's no need to act. So basically it's inaction. And this Pramilika, or the Pramila is another meaning for, is another word for being delicate. But this is here Pramilika is something which makes you forget your strength, makes you doubt your self-worth. So we lose our self-confidence under the influence of Pramilika. Kleba, it's a very, very important form of, Jaya Vighna, is Kleba, which says, which is a kind of, which is impotence. Basically, it is impotence, but it has another form of righteous dilemma. which is why the certain Shakti Senas who were under the influence of Kleba, they started saying, ever since we were born, we are causing violence. We are causing destruction. And why are we causing that destruction? Because there is war. War is evil. No, not Bhandasura. No, war is evil, right? If it's, I mean, this is from Brahmanda Purana. So if you find any resemblances in the modern world, I mean, I don't intend to point, but yes, this is one of the, the false moral equivalence or false a moral dilemma that kind of makes you look away from your path of dharma, your path of action is Kleba, which is why Lord Krishna refers to the same weakness in Bhagavad Gita. And when Arjuna says, Arjuna's Vishada Yoga is actually a very important chapter in the Bhagavad Gita to dwell upon, because he's not just worried about losing his relatives. He's worried about a whole social upheaval that would follow after the war. Right? It's a very intellectual question that Arjuna has against the war. And Krishna says, Klaibhyam asmagamah partha naitatvai upapadyate shudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. So this is whatever that whole moral dilemma you've been having, partha, it is Klaibhya, it's nothing but impotence. So, shed it off, get up and fight. So this is the aspect of Klaibhya that has overcome in the form of moral, of some righteous dilemma, which is not righteous dilemma, but it's just impotence taking that form. And there is Nirahankara. Of course, Nirahankara in larger context is used in a positive, with a positive meaning. But here it is about, again, something that attacks self-worth, right? For simplicity's sake. And Gita, which wants celebration before its time. So these are the 8 forces that come into action because of this very shrewd yantra called Jaya Vigna Yantra. And Varahi finds that each of her divisions is behaving in a different way. They're coming up to her with the weird questions. Why should we fight? Why should we fight under you? And why should we fight at all? Let us celebrate. Oh, we can't win this war. Let's give up and go back. So all kinds of what's wrong with these women? And she and Mantrini have a they go back to Lalita Parameshwari saying ki we don't know what happened all of a sudden. We were winning this war, but all this so our people started, our women started acting weirdly. Then Lalita Parameshwari recognizes, okay, so the Vigna Yantra is in action. So we want somebody who will destroy the Vignas. So who's the destroyer of the Vignas? It's Ganesha. It's Vigna Raja. So she meditates upon her husband Kameshwara. So he's ready to come and help. So she invokes him and says, "This is the problem. So what do you want me to do? No, just don't do anything. Just stay still. Let me synthesize Gananayaka based on how you look." So meditating upon the very handsome form of Kameshwara, she gives birth to Gananayaka. Gananayaka, he knows how to break this Vigna Yantra. So Gananatha himself, he gives birth to 6 Vignanayakas. They are Amoda, Pramoda. Amoda is unity again, is unanimity rather, right? And Pramoda is some kind of a contentment that arises from the way you are. There is no, nobody can make you feel guilty about yourself. Nobody can guilt you with those false moral dilemmas. So that is the force called the Vigna Raja, who is called Pramoda. There's Sumukha, who is always ready for action. Durmukha, who causes the same the same kind of inertia, the same kind of inaction in the enemy. So we need both the, we need to be ready to act, as well as we need to strategize in such a way that the enemy is waylaid from their path. So Durmukha. Arighna, Vignakarta, the one who can give rise to obstacles to the enemy. So there is, if you compare, there are 3 Vighna Rajas who protect our dharma, our steadfastness, our strength, and there are 3 Vighna Rajas who destroy the same for the enemy. So Amoda, Pramoda, Sumukha, Durmukha, Arighna, Vignakarta. These 6 Gananayakas, they fought with these 8 forces, the Alasa, Kripana, Dina, Nitandra, Pramilika, Kliba, Nirahankara, Gita. They fought and they destroyed the Vighna Yantra. After which Varahi, the commander, not Varahi, sorry, Mantrini, Shyamala Devi, she went and she killed Vishukra. We have to prevent again, another Jaya Vighna Yantra from coming up. So she killed Vishukra. After that, Varahi kills Vishanga, the other commander of Bhandasura. And Bhandasura comes forward now for that final battle. He has the power to invoke any Asuric force from all parallel universes, past, future, everywhere. So he invokes all the Asuric forces from past and future and parallel universes or alternative universes. And Lalita Parameshwari, most of the Asuric forces, they were killed by the various aspects of Lord Vishnu. So she, from her the fingernails, she gives rise to various avatars of Vishnu. Karanguli Nakhotpanna Narayana Dashakritihi. Narayana's 10 forms come from her fingernails and kill those Asuric forces. Maha Pashupatastra-Agni Nirdagdha Asura Sainika. With the Pashupata Astra, or the Astra belonging to Pashupati, Lord Shiva himself, she destroys the rest of the armies of Bhandasura. And finally, with an Astra called Kameshwarastra. Kameshwarastra, Maha Pashupatastra-Agni Nirdagdha Asura Sainika. Kameshwarastra Nirdagdha Sabhandasura Shunyaka. She destroys Bhandasura with this Astra of Kameshwara himself. Look at the beautiful poetical balance here, because Shiva burnt the Kamdev, Bhandasura was born. So again, there is a weapon arising out of Kameshwara himself, which can kill Bhandasura, which could kill Bhandasura. And the purpose of Lalita Parameshwari's birth is thus fulfilled. So we come to the end of the episode of Bhandasura, after which Lalita Parameshwari is worshipped by all the gods and goddesses. So there is a very beautiful Lalita Sahasranama coming, again told by Hayagriva Swami to Rishi Agastya. So we chant these 1,000 names of Lalita Parameshwari. There's a habit, women have the habit of chanting it every Friday. Some have the habit of chanting it on Tuesdays and Fridays. And some say the Navami, we have Navaratri's Navami coming. So if you can at least listen to the Lalita Sahasranama, it has wonderful results. So on Navami, on Chaturdashi, on Paurnami, when you imagine Lalita Parameshwari's beautiful form against the image of the full moon. So these are and on your birthday, that's our not the Gregorian birthday, but on the nakshatra or the tithi, that the lunar birthday that comes. So all those are the days, and all the festivals, those are the days where Lalita Sahasranama is chanted for wonderful results. All the results spanning all the purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And this is that wonderful prayer which balances our, whatever imbalances that we would be having, because, given our immaturities or insecurities. So that would, if you are too materialistic, Lalita Sahasranama induces a level of spiritual, bent of mind, which balances it. If you are too spiritual and not, and the materialism is suffering, the Lalita Sahasranama induces that rajasic quality just to balance these three gunas, which is why it is a wonderful, wonderful prayer. My mother, both my grandmothers and my mother-in-law, they have been having a habit of chanting this very regularly, and I consciously made a habit of chanting Lalita Sahasranama every Friday without fail. And I can say that there are the last 1 year, after which this is the last Navratri was when I took before that I was just chanting during festivals whenever I get time, but I hadn't made it a discipline. But last 1 year is when I made a discipline of chanting Lalita Sahasranama, and I can sense the difference in life. So that is about this very wonderful episode of Bhandasura Vadha from Lalitopakhyana of Brahmanda Purana. I would strongly encourage all of you to go back to the source text. My copy is in Telugu, but I think Gita Press has it in all most Indian languages, Hindi as well as English. So do please read this episode in detail. This is something which would, civilizationally, the functioning of Jaya Vigna Yantra and invoking of Gananayakas. That is one episode which we need to read, revise, and keep remembering whenever we encounter such false dilemmas. And we have to keep fighting these false narratives day in and day out from a civilizational point of view. And knowledge of this Jaya Vigna Yantra, knowledge of the Gananayaka, and finally the grace of Lalita Parameshwari is what we need to keep us going. So I hope you'll all do that, and I thank you everyone, and especially Srikanji for giving me this opportunity to revise this very wonderful story. So that comes to that calls the end of this session. So I'd be very happy to take some questions.